Hey there guys, welcome to Dino's Vault once again, and this time I bring you the world first exclusive in-depth video of another Pulsar. Yes, this is the 2017 Bajaj Pulsar 220F. The good news is that it is now BS4 compliant, and it also brings along with it some subtle changes which we'll be exploring in this video. Now first of all, thank you so much for the overwhelming response to my 2017 Pulsar 180 video. It does make all the effort that went into making that video worthwhile. If you haven't seen that video yet, please feel free to follow the link appearing on the screen right now. Now the Pulsar 220 first surfaced in its FI or fuel injected avatar back in 2007, but people back then really weren't mentally prepared to embrace the advanced technology by paying that extra premium, because the transition process from a mileage hungry audience to a more matured and fun loving audience had just begun, courtesy of the Pulsar movement. Now people back then had just realized the fact that there was more to motorcycling than just extracting maximum mileage, but at the same time they weren't ready to pay that extra money for having advanced technology featured on their bikes. Bajaj, having known the Indian mindset inside out, immediately corrected themselves and launched the Pulsar 220F, which has gone on to become one of the most iconic bikes in the history of Indian motorcycling. This time around, the Pulsar 220 got a carbureted engine and came feature-packed right up to the brim, while also carrying an "Are you insane" price tag of just Rs 70,000. The marketing campaign, claiming it to be the fastest Indian motorcycle back then, immediately caught people's attention and won over their hearts with the incredible value for money proposition it had on offer. The bike did 0 to 60 km per hour in less than 4 seconds, it did 0 to 100 km per hour at around 11 seconds, and it came with a top speed claim of 145 km per hour, which thrilled every bike enthusiast across our nation. We got dual disc brakes, twin horns, soft compound tires with a fatter rear tire, auto choke, new clutch assembly, larger air cooler, nitrox suspension, ultra powerful headlamps, digital speedo, backlit switches, semi-fairing and whatnot. Also, the bike looked stunning with the all black theme it had adopted as opposed to the plain Jane theme it had carried with the FI model. Over the years though, times have changed, people's mindset has changed, and the competition is now more intense than ever before, with more performance oriented motorcycles taking the market by storm. Yet when we look at the sales figures, we see that the Pulsar 220F is still a crowd favorite because it still offers supreme value for money. Now I wouldn't say it is flawless, because every bike has its own share of pros and cons, but having been able to survive the onslaught of more modern machines over nearly a decade and still managing to survive the storm speaks of the unflinching character of a legend that will live on forever in the history of Indian motorcycling. Now coming to the info we all are hoping for with regard to the changes this new bike features. First of all, as mentioned earlier, the 2017 Pulsar 220F is now BS4 compliant. It also gets the visually apparent attractive new decals or body graphics along with a monotone color scheme as opposed to the dual tone color scheme available earlier. The seats appear to be new and more comfortable now. The clip-on handlebars and the rear split grab rails get matte black finish now, just like the new Pulsar 180. The Speedo now gets a blue backlit display which looks cooler. The mighty exhaust that has been one of the USPs of the Pulsar 220 now gets a matte grey treatment, which believe me looks stunning when witnessed up front. Technically, again, I'm extremely sorry, there's not much info I could gather, hence I cannot talk about power or torque figures now until they are officially disclosed by the company. Design wise, the new decals along with the monotone color scheme and the darker looking exhaust do manage to enhance and highlight its actual design concept even further. The bike looks more striking now and is sure to grasp all the attention you hope for from the onlookers. The blackened fairing not only looks awesome, but it would also prove effective on highways to fend off any wind blast. The twin headlamp setup with a vertical layout still looks quite cool, and the headlamps are among the most effective ones in our market currently. Coming to the profile, we have the quarter fairing that lends the bike a distinctive look. Then we have the muscular fuel tank that is typically that of a Pulsar. The side and rear panels are sharper, lending the bike a sleeker look. The chunky exhaust looks even better now given this matte grey treatment. It sounds equally good as well. At the back we have the trademark twin LED strip tail lamp setup that looks amazing. The split seat setup is sensibly laid out and offers adequate room for the rider as well as the pillion. What's even better now is that the seats are of better quality and are more comfortable. The clip-on handlebars are ideally positioned to give us a relaxed riding posture, which is great. We then have Palser's trademark backlit switches that look superb at night, and we do get a high beam flasher as well as an engine kill switch. The speedo remains the same, but we now get a blue backlit display which looks pretty cool. We get an analog tachometer, whereas the digital display contains the speedometer, odometer, trip meter and a fuel gauge. Again, I cannot talk about the engine specs as I am unaware whether they have been changed or whether they remain the same. However, I did take the bike out for a long test ride, and the one thing immediately apparent was the clutch feel. It isn't as hard as it used to be before. It feels lighter and much easier to operate now. The engine responds well to throttle inputs, thereby offering us that extra thrust that we need while overtaking. The exhaust serves us with a really good background score too. The Palsers have always been refined, and this one is no exception. Also, the refinement level feels a little better now when compared to prior, which is good. There were no vibrations apparent even at around 100 km per hour. One thing that always bothered me in the Palser 220 was the gearbox. It wasn't the smoothest before, and sadly that hasn't changed even now. It still feels slightly hard, especially shifting from first to second gear. Talking about the brakes, we get a 260mm disc up front and a 230mm disc brake at the back. I feel the brakes could have been better because we don't get the confidence we hope for considering the performance this bike has on offer. Talking about the suspension setup, we get telescopic forks with anti-friction bush up front and 5-step adjustable nitrox shock absorbers at the back. The ride quality from Palsers has always been ideal for our Indian road conditions, and that doesn't change with this new Palser 220 as well. The bike soaks up the bumps effortlessly while also offering decent stability at cruising speeds. Talking about the wheels and tires, we get 17-inch wheels and tubeless tires. We get a 90x90 tire up front and a 120x80 tire at the back. Other tech specs I believe remain unchanged, like ground clearance of 165mm, fuel tank capacity of 15 liters, etc. Mileage wise, my friends who have owned the Palser 220 have disclosed figures of close to 40 kmpl, which I believe is quite decent for a 220cc bike. Currently, the Palser 220's ex-showroom price in Delhi is around Rs 89,000, but this new BS4 variant I believe is supposed to be dearer by around Rs 2,000, which I think is quite reasonable given the changes it gets. So that's pretty much it for now. I just hope you found this video useful. Until next time, this is Dino saying ciao. Take care, God bless and ride safe.